While millions of people are yelling at their televisions, wearing jerseys, painting their faces, and feeling genuinely crushed because 11 athletes lost a game, there's a huge group of people who feel absolutely nothing about it. No excitement, no heartbreak, no urge to check the score. And here's the surprising part. Neuroscience suggests that this difference might come down to how your brain is wired. Stay with me, because once you understand this, you'll never look at sports obsession or your own indifference the same way again. Let's clear something up first. Not caring about sports does not make you dull. It doesn't mean you lack passion, and it definitely doesn't mean something is wrong with you. But it does mean your brain may be operating differently from the roughly 60% of Americans who actively follow sports. So why do so many people care so intensely? The answer goes back thousands of years. Humans evolved as tribal beings. Survival depended on belonging to a group. Your tribe protected you, hunted with you, defended you. Being part of something larger than yourself wasn't optional. It was life or death. Modern sports tap into that ancient wiring. Teams function like tribes, just with logos and merchandise. When fans watch their team play, their brains release oxytocin, the same bonding hormone associated with love and family connection. On a chemical level, their brains treat those players like members of their own clan. That's powerful. But people who don't obsess over sports often show lower tribal identification. Psychologists describe them as less driven by us versus them thinking. Their identity isn't tightly wrapped around belonging to a large group. They're often more individualistic. They don't feel a strong need to merge their sense of self with a team. In fact, research from 2019 found that people with low interest in sports displayed significantly less automatic in-group versus out-group bias. In simple terms, they're less likely to dislike another team or its fans just because they're on the other side. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. When a devoted fan watches a game, their brain lights up in ways that look surprisingly similar to gambling. Dopamine, the anticipation chemical, fires constantly. Every play, every near miss, every unexpected turn creates a tiny surge of excitement. It's not just fun, it's neurologically reinforcing. Brain imaging studies show that watching your team compete activates reward centers similar to those triggered by high-stimulation activities. The unpredictability is key. You don't know what's going to happen next. That uncertainty fuels the dopamine loop. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement, the same reward schedule that makes slot machines so addictive. When rewards are unpredictable, the brain craves them even more. For people who don't care about sports, this loop simply doesn't activate the same way. Their dopamine systems aren't particularly responsive to vicarious competition, meaning competition they're not directly involved in. Some researchers, including studies from the University of Chicago, suggest that variations in dopamine receptor genes may influence how strongly someone is drawn to spectator competition. In other words, your indifference to whether the Lakers win or lose might actually have a biological component. But there's another psychological layer. Sports fans often engage in something called basking in reflected glory. When their team wins, they say, "We won." When their team loses, suddenly it becomes, "They lost." That subtle shift in language reveals something important. Victories become personally shared. Losses get distanced. People who don't attach themselves to teams are less likely to tie their self-worth to external outcomes like that. Their self-esteem tends to be less influenced by events they can't control. Their identity is more internally anchored. Now, this isn't about one being better than the other. It's about difference. Interestingly, sports fans often score high on certain measures of empathy. They practice emotionally investing in other people's struggles, even if those people are strangers in uniforms. So why don't non-sports fans feel the same pull? It's not a lack of empathy. It's about where empathy is directed. Emotional energy is limited. Everyone allocates it somewhere. People who don't care about sports often channel that emotional investment into other areas: relationships, creative work, social causes, intellectual challenges, art, music, nature. A 2021 study found that individuals with low interest in sports tended to score higher in openness to experience and appreciation for art and beauty. They seek emotional intensity and meaning, just in different domains. The need for transcendence, connection, and reward is universal. The outlet varies. And let's be honest, sometimes indifference to sports has a personal backstory. Maybe someone felt excluded from athletic culture growing up. Maybe competitiveness felt hostile rather than exciting. Maybe they simply never understood why adults scream at televisions over a ball moving across a field. Or maybe they just find it boring. That's valid too. The deeper divide between sports fans and non-fans often comes down to how each group experiences meaning. Sports fans find meaning in unfolding narratives. The underdog story, the comeback, the rivalry, the dynasty. It's real-time drama with uncertain outcomes and emotional stakes. People who aren't drawn to sports may see that unpredictability as arbitrary. They may think, why emotionally invest in something I can't influence, involving people I don't know, in an outcome that doesn't change my actual life? Neither perspective is wrong. They're just different ways of fulfilling the human hunger for story. One group finds epic storytelling in a championship run. The other finds it in a novel, a startup, a scientific breakthrough, a relationship, or a personal goal. Psychologists sometimes describe this difference as parasocial investment versus direct engagement. Sports fans form one-sided emotional bonds with teams and players. Non-sports individuals often prefer engagement where their actions directly shape the outcome, where their effort matters. Both paths can create joy. Both can create flow, that deeply absorbed state where time disappears. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who studied flow extensively, found that this state can emerge from countless activities. Watching sports is one path. Creating, building, learning, solving, those are others. Here's something subtle but powerful. People who don't spend hours watching games often report feeling more immersed in their own lives. They're not spending Sunday afternoon riding someone else's emotional roller coaster. They're building their own. There's something quietly radical about choosing participation over spectatorship. So what does all of this mean? If you don't care about sports, you're not missing some essential human experience. Your brain's reward circuitry, your tribal instincts, your empathy patterns, they're simply tuned differently. You're not broken. You're not passionless. You're not weird. You're just wired in a way that seeks meaning, excitement, and connection through different channels. So the next time someone asks, "Did you watch the game?" and you genuinely couldn't care less, remember this. You're not out of the loop. You're just playing a different one. And maybe, just maybe, the game you're playing has higher personal stakes. If this perspective resonated with you, you might also be interested in exploring how quiet or introspective people process the world differently, and why thinking differently from the crowd might actually be your greatest advantage.